We all get off course sometimes and need someone to talk to. Sometimes we get lost in more difficult problems with family, friends, school, drugs, money, or depression. These and other troubles can really throw us. Hotline can help with free telephone counseling and information. We can help you get in touch with the right people, and we won't ask who you are. Call us at 235-SEEK. That's Hotline at 235-SEEK, a United Way agency.
Who can you talk with about a crisis in your life? Or about an alcohol or drug problem? Who can you talk with about problems at school? Or about family troubles? Who can you talk with when you need some information? Or when you don't know who to talk to? Or when you need a referral? Call a hotline volunteer at 235-SEEK. That's 235-SEEK. We won't ask who you are. A United Way agency.
Welcome everyone to FirstLink's virtual Lifesaver Luncheon. FirstLink has been rocking, rolling, and supporting the community for over 50 years. I'm Cindy Miller, Executive Director at FirstLink.
And I am Jennifer Illick, the Director of Helpline Operations. It's hard to believe that it's been 50 years since a group of dedicated women realized that our community was in need of a hotline to help those seeking resources, listening, and support. From these humble roots to today, FirstLink has grown into the nonprofit that covers all of North Dakota and parts of Minnesota. In 2019, we handled over 60,140 contacts.
That's the cat's meow. And in August, we had a record month with over 7,000 contacts. That would not have been possible without your support, so thank you.
You know who else we should thank? Kroll's Diner. Kroll's Diner has been around for 50 years, and to celebrate, they are offering $1 off hand-scooped, old-fashioned shakes for FirstLink supporters. This is from September 30th to October 7th, but not including Monday, October 5th. So please stop in and mention FirstLink, 211, or Suicide Lifeline, or Hotline to get your discount. Sit down and enjoy.
We want to share 50 years of memories with you. Now through a video, pictures, and commercials from the good old days. So let's sit back and relax as we now watch a blast from the past.
Wow, 50 years FirstLink. What an achievement. I joined the FirstLink board, except then it was called Hotline in 1978. The mission was the same, but the work we do today is 10, 15, 20, 30-fold what we used to do.
In the past 4 years, our call volume has increased from just over 49,000 contacts to over 60,000 contacts last year. Our Caring Contact program grew by over 100%.
When I was first hired as the hotline coordinator back in 1991, I attended my first national suicide conference in Boston, Massachusetts. This training became a foundation with FirstLink and really was instrumental in helping establish a suicide survivors support group.
Then they moved on, of course, to handling all kinds of calls about disasters in various parts of the state, whether it was a blizzard or a flood or any number of other things for large groups of people, or whether it was an individual who needed services in one way or another.
I hope that the future we just keep supporting Hotline and we keep using the Fargo Merit keeps supporting us by funding and volunteers and by the publicity.
So many people say how beneficial it was for them to have a place like FirstLink that they could call for help 24 hours a day, and they so appreciate having someone there to listen. But I've also learned in talking to people that what is incredibly helpful for people is having loved ones and family members that know how to respond appropriately, or just feel that they have some confidence or understanding in knowing how to respond at all when somebody is dealing with a mental health or suicide crisis.
The growth and the potential that's there to help more people all the time. And I know that with your support and with the amazing staff that FirstLink has, they're going to be able to do incredible things. So best of luck in the next 50 years.
We want to thank everyone who shared their memories from FirstLink's past. And of course, our 2020 sponsors. Our corporate sponsors include Altru, Bremer Bank, Dakota Medical Foundation, Fargo Moorhead Area Foundation, Essentia Health, MJ Capelli's, Prairie St. John's, Sanford, Telwell, United Way of Cast Clay, Valley News Live, and West Acres. And our event sponsor, Kroll's Diner.
Now we're excited to introduce this year's speaker, Katherine Kiernan. Katherine is the CEO of Aspire Realty in Fargo and mom to 3 beautiful children. When you meet Katherine, words like supermom and Energizer Bunny may come to mind, but what you might not realize is that in just 1 year ago, she was struggling with depression and an unintentional prescription addiction that nearly cost Katherine her life. We're going to share a video about Katherine's experiences, and then we'll ask her a few questions. Take a look.
if I can help by telling my story to one person, by offering to be a lifeline to one person, and to connect somebody with one person who can help, then it's worth it. Then every single thing that I went through is worth it. I was focused. Okay? I was aspiring to be super mom, and part of that is being able to be the mom who's at the school events, the mom who owns the company, the mom who goes to all of the different activities, and I loved life. It really started to go downhill when I was separated from my husband, and we had made the decision to divorce ultimately. It turned our entire world upside down. Everything that was familiar and felt good in the world all of a sudden was on its head, and trying to pick up all of the pieces and keep things moving forward almost seemed like an impossible task at times. I didn't have the energy that I'm notorious for having. I didn't have the passion and the drive anymore. It just felt like I was a shell of a person, and I don't know, it felt like an unstoppable sadness, if you will. And I think that part I thought was normal, just because the beginning of the end of anything is oftentimes a hard transition. When I went and saw the psychiatrist, my therapist at the time, she had thought that he would go down more of a path of treating the anxiety and the depression symptoms. Instead, he focused more on wanting me to be laser focused, and actually gone down the route of prescribing me ADHD medications. And so I just felt like he had my best interests at heart, which is why he went the path he did. So he had prescribed me a heavy level 1 drug called Vyvanse, and had put me on a really high dose. I still remember my first follow-up with him where I said, I don't feel right. Yes, I can focus, and yes, I'm running at the speed of light, and yes, I'm managing to hold my life together, but I'm sad, and I'm getting more sad. And he chalked it up as, well, it's part of the process, but when you're doing well and you're keeping all the other pieces, that sadness will go away. It's going to be more situational. And I trusted him. When I noticed that something was getting worse, I just started to detach from my world. I didn't care about my life. I didn't care about what happened to the business. I didn't care because I didn't expect to be in it anymore. I had started to get to a point where I was wanting to make arrangements where my kids would be okay. And I didn't think they needed me anymore. I don't think anybody did. I just realized that day it was do or die time. That was my day, and this time I literally dropped to my knees and I'm like, I need help. Something is wrong. I'm hearing things, I'm seeing things. I feel out of my mind all the time. I'm manic, I'm terrified, and if something doesn't change, I won't be here by the end of the week. I won't be. And I just said, I have to check in. I need help because my kids, they need a mom. And the whole entire reason I didn't seek help faster is because I was embarrassed, and I was scared, and I was ashamed, and the amount of guilt you feel by detaching from people and detaching from your world, it's indescribable. You know, how many of us don't ask for help because we're ashamed and we're embarrassed and we don't know where to go and we're afraid and we live in fear. So instead of suffering publicly and getting the help that you need, you suffer internally, and it ends up robbing people of their story, of their life. Your life is 100% worth it. And there's always a lifeline, even though you can't see it. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to lean on others and have others lean on you, and to put that kind of love for yourself and for others out there. It's the number one thing.
Thank you, Katherine, for sharing your story. We're so thankful that you had the courage to reach out when you did, and we hope this video inspires others struggling to do the same. Here's Katherine now from her home. Hi, Katherine. It's great to talk to you again today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to visiting with you guys today.
So what do you believe prevented you from seeking help sooner?
You know, I've been asked that a lot of different times, to be completely honest with you. And when I think back on it, because, you know, from day to day, when you relive this experience, you try to figure it out, and every day it's a little bit different. But the one resounding thing was there's a lot of embarrassment behind my struggle, and there was a lot of shame that came with it. And I didn't know what exactly was wrong or what exactly was causing it. I just knew that there was this, I was going through this space in life where I kept getting more and more withdrawn and more down. And I was still going to my therapist that I would go to. And when I would get there, we'd visit, but I would never really go into detail with her about that kind of drowning feeling I was have. We would talk more situational. And then as it slowly started progressing to the point where it made it like my work was definitely hard to do, and being a mom was really hard to do, there was a fear that went with that because I was just going through this horrible divorce process. And the one thing that you worry about the entire time, because when it gets as drawn out as ours did, I mean, we went all the way to trial. And so the child part of it was a huge component of that. So then there's this fear, like, if this gets out, or if it gets to my ex-husband, is he going to try to take my kids? Am I going to lose my business? Or, you know, what exactly is going to happen? And I felt like I should have been able to get myself back together, you know. And every single time I would think that I'd hit rock bottom and it couldn't get worse. I'm like, okay, I can navigate this. Now I just have to start trying to put the pieces back together again. And then the bottom would drop out again. And it kept doing this on this vicious cycle. And then pretty soon I was so down and out, where the thoughts that I was having were really all consuming, that then I was both terrified, first off, of like what the outcome was going to be. And I was terrified about, okay, what if the wrong people find this out? What if I go to somebody for help and they tell somebody? What, you know, like I can't, Fargo's a very small town. I'm a business owner. I'm wanting to hold my life together. I just need to make it through this phase, and then everything will be okay. But then it just kept drawing out, you know? And so then all of those pieces kind of came together, and at the end of the day, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know a single person at that time that I could go to with 100% confidence that it wouldn't get either blown into this big scenario in a very public way, or where people wouldn't start worrying. You know, if you go to somebody and you're like, hey, you know, I'm having thoughts about ending my life and I'm in a really bad spot, as a person who loves that person, you don't want to implode their worlds. So I just felt stuck. And so with that shame and that embarrassment and then all of that, it just basically paralyzed me.
Which is all understandable. You know, the next question I was going to ask is, can you describe the fear of what others would think of you as a mom and a businesswoman?
You know, the sad part about, like, I'm always somebody who tries to look for the positive in every situation, and I don't like to put like a fear statement out or whatnot. But the truth of this, you know, truth of the world that we live in right now is, unfortunately, we exist amongst a lot of people who hear about other people's weaknesses and they try to capitalize on them. And they'll tell mistruths about other people. Like, you'll hear that somebody is struggling, and then pretty soon they're the topic of conversation at a lunch or at happy hour or at a gathering. And now the situation has been turned into something even bigger and worse than what it was. You know, that gossip trail that happens. And so I really feared what my competitors in business were going to do with that, because I'd already experienced that, going through the beginning of my divorce and my separation, where people wanted to twist the storylines and make it something malicious and bad. So I'd already experienced that. And then I'm like, what the heck are they going to do if they find out that my depression and my anxiety are winning right now? And what is that storyline going to be? Because I already know that, we compete in a lot of situations for listings and for buyers and things like that. And so I'd already heard from potential clients what my competitor would say at the dinner table when there's meeting with them, to basically say that they're the better candidate because, I'm not sure if you know this about Katherine, but here's this. And so I worried about if people really knew, if it ever leaked out, that my credibility and people's belief that I can do my job, and I do my job very, very well, and I work really hard at it. I worried that they wouldn't believe that, or I wouldn't even have the opportunity to show people that, because they'd be concerned like, we don't want to add more to her plate if she's already struggling. And then there's such a black mark, I think, when people are talking about mental health issues or addiction issues, and you hear those words and people kind of freeze, like, oh my gosh, that's really big and scary. So there is that whole part on the business side of things. And then I worried if that got out, I wouldn't be able to recover. And I would lose my business, and then I'd be back to square one on that side. On the mom side of things, I really worried that, people look at when a child is sick. They're like, oh gosh, is it contagious? And you're like, the child is sick with something that it's not communicable. So no, your child can still have play dates and whatnot. But it's just weird how parents interact, And I worried, what if it got out about me to the other moms, like in the classrooms or in our neighborhood, like, oh, Katherine's really struggling with this. We don't want our children around her children because of it. Because when people don't have all the facts, they kind of fill in the blanks for themselves. And then I worried that from there, after having just gone through this horrible divorce, like, what if my ex-husband or somebody in his camp found out about this, and then they tried to get my husband to go and take my kids? Because despite how bad I had checked out in life, I would have rather lost my life than lost my kids. 100%. And so when you combine those two, it really had it paralyzed me in place, and I could not figure out a way that I could step forward and get the help that I needed without jeopardizing everything. I'm either going to jeopardize being a mom, or I'm going to jeopardize my business, or I'm going to jeopardize both. And then if that happens, what's left anyways?
What do you wish someone had told you when you were in your darkest moments?
And are there resources that you wish you had known about back then?
Oh, absolutely. I wish I would have known about FirstLink back then. I didn't. The thing, when you're going through, a life trial like what I did, you're not thinking clearly. You're not thinking rationally a lot of the time. You're living in fear, and you're living in worry, and you're living in stress. And I wish then that somebody in my camp, because now, obviously the people who love me, they're like, we knew something was wrong, but nobody wanted to offend you, or nobody wanted to embarrass you. You're so tough and you're so resilient. We just figured you'd get through whatever it was, and we just assumed that it was the divorce stuff, and then once that was done, everything would be okay. And I wish going through that somebody would have just said, you know what, for fear of making you really upset and putting that to the wayside, I'm worried about you. I know something's up. And I wish that somebody would have pushed on me a little bit harder at that time. My therapist did. She was always like, I can tell something. But people lie to their therapist. It's a terrible thing. Where we're like, no, everything's fine. It's work stress or whatever. But to actually go down the tunnel of saying what it really was or what it really felt like, it's a terrifying thing. But if I would have known that there were even 1-800 numbers and what those numbers were, to call and know that my confidences would be kept, and I would be able to get pointed in some directions of saying, hey, this sounds really off. You really need to seek other opinions or something, just a hand to hold during that time. I can't even imagine the difference that would have made. And I didn't know, the only resource I knew of in Fargo was Prairie. And I was like, I was not about to go to Prairie, not because there's anything wrong with Prairie. I worried about who would see me there and what then the story would be about why I was there. So I think if we had more of an awareness, and that's a thing that I wish that even like my best friend, she'll say it now. She goes, I don't know why I didn't say, hey, I know something's up. And here's who I think you should call, or here's what I think you could do. She goes, I, in my own role as somebody who loved you, because now I was in a personal situation, I didn't know what to do. And I honestly just think it would have been, for me at least, to call it on the carpet and say, I see you. I see you and I know there's something.
Can you discuss the advantage of telehealth and if that had been an option for you?
The thing about that I don't think a lot of people realize is when you call telehealth, you don't have to tell them your name. You can be Snow White when you call it. It doesn't matter. And they're not going to trace you or hunt you down or try to figure out who you are or put the pieces together. They're people who, in a lot of circumstances, are people who've been through it themselves. They're highly trained individuals who are there to talk you through whatever it is in a 100% safe environment. And a lot of times you think that the people who are answering it are going to know your voice, or they're going to know your name, or they're going to know somebody who knows you. And that's so far, it's so far removed from what the actual situation is. And the people who are answering those calls, they don't care about any of that. What they care about is helping you and helping you to become safe and get to a safe place and get the resources that you need and be there for you. And I wish I would have realized that early on, because, from anybody who's heard my story, I knew something was wrong. I knew that I was going down this tunnel, and I kept feeling like I was crazy, if you will, because I'm saying to my psychiatrist, I just don't feel right. I don't feel right. And then I'm saying to other people, I'm like, something just doesn't feel right. But there's, to everybody else on the outside looking in, well, there's no triggers. So what's wrong with you that you don't feel right, And if I would have made a call like that and talked to somebody who specializes in being able to see all of those underlying cues and kind of hints, I would have known to get myself somewhere safe a lot faster than I did.
So we've heard a lot from you today, Katherine, but what would you like to say to others who are struggling with addiction and behavioral health concerns? We've got a lot of uncertainty right now with COVID-19.
What I would ultimately like to see for anybody who is struggling with mental health issues or addiction issues, first and foremost, you're not alone. Especially with COVID-19 going on, people who have, people will say when you're in treatment, I thought I had licked this thing. I thought I had it, I had conquered it, and now it's rearing its head. And instead of saying that to their loved ones, like I've fallen behind or I need help, they're trying to cover it up. And there's so many triggers with the pandemic going on that are very triggering for people who've never even had addiction issues or mental health issues. So the biggest thing is you're not by yourself. You're not crazy. There's so many resources that are out there. And for the people who don't want to leave their house, I understand that. But you can get phenomenal therapy services through telehealth. You don't ever even have to leave your home to get the process started. And in addition to that, I just think people are so hard on themselves. And especially, for me, I went to treatment and now I'm back and I'm supposed to be 100%, right? And, I'm trying to have this awareness with people and trying to be this positive outlook on it. But even I struggled. Now all of a sudden I'm trying to own a business and I'm a stay-at-home mom and I'm trying to navigate all of these things. And I felt myself really getting pulled backwards and my anxiety went through the roof. But now I knew, because of having gotten help, that I needed to say something a lot faster, and I knew that the triggers were there. And so for people who are also battling that, know yourself enough, or listen to that little intuition that you have if you're struggling. So many others are. But raise your hand, call one of the numbers, reach out to somebody. Don't suffer by yourself. You know, that people always say misery loves company. No, I feel that misery finds help in company.
Well, that's wonderful. I loved hearing that. That's exactly right. So how is your life? It looks like it's really improved since you opened up about your addiction and sought help. So can you tell us more about how it has improved?
It's light years different. I didn't ever think that I could get back here in a way, because once you're that far done, because I was done. I didn't want to be back here. I didn't see that happening for me. And so now to see where I stand today, I didn't think it was possible. And to be able to look around and now be able to say, through everything that I went through, that I can somehow be a support or an assistant to somebody else who needs that right now, it fills me with a level of joy that I can't even begin to describe, you know? And now it's just to go from a place where I was so disconnected from life and disconnected from the people that I love the most, to being able to now like be back to thriving in so many capacities and being able to, you know, the day-to-day stresses. I mean, I have 3 little humans who like to run around like Tasmanian devils all day, every day. Plus I've got all these clients at the same time doing it, and being able to cope in that and not have it dismantle me or not have it, you know, make me want to go out and drink or go out and medicate myself in some way. I can navigate it. There is so much peace and freedom in that. It's wild, you know. And the hard part about life is life is always hard, you know. Through my journey, I broke a lot of relationships with people who mean a very big deal to me. Some of those relationships, I hope they aren't irreparably damaged. I hope that over time all things can be healed. And so that's, you know, those are those remaining scars that follow you. But by and large, you know, the people who were, you know, greatly impacted around me during that time, I'm starting to have them in my life in such a bigger, better capacity. And so those are just areas where I find so much gratitude in. Like that is the number one place that I think that I live the most now, is in this place of gratitude, because to have a second chance at life, it's the biggest gift, you know? And that's how I try every day now to be a lot more mindful of that. And, you know, when things are tough, being aware of that. And when I can see things being tough for other people, being able to reach my hand out and do it in a way where I'm like, you know what, this may not work for you, but this is what I needed when I was in your shoes, and I see you and I'm here. And to be able to have those people want to, you know, dialogue even, it's huge.
It makes such a difference being there for people, asking people, showing them you really care. You know, it sounds to me like you're very grateful and you're hopeful about these other relationships too, but just hopeful about this life that you've got all looking ahead with your children. And
I want to thank you for sharing today with us all of your experiences. And we're really looking forward to working together with you to bring awareness about addiction and mental health to our area.
Well, and thank you so much for helping me, and I appreciate the work that you guys are doing. I think that it's a game changer, and if there's anything that we can do to support your mission in the future, we're all in this together. So appreciate you and I being able to talk today.
yes, it's nice to see your face. So again, I appreciate that.
FirstLink would not be celebrating 50 years if it were not for the support of our community. Without your support, we want to say thank you to our faithful donors, funders, legislators, volunteers, board members, and those who have answered calls 24/7.
You can help us help others who are having financial concerns, who may be without housing, or who are experiencing addiction and suicidal thoughts. With your support, FirstLink can continue to support these people, our family, friends, and neighbors for another 50 years. Any amount helps, but today I'm asking you to donate $50 to help us handle 3 calls from someone who's struggling. As a thank you gift for your $50 donation, you will receive a 50th FirstLink commemorative ornament.
Thank you for sharing this time with us today. We want to especially thank Katherine for bravely sharing her story, Kroll's Diner for their support, and the Telwell team for putting together all of our great marketing and events.
I hope it was a blast to see our past, and with your help, we will keep rocking and rolling, helping others and giving them help and hope 24 hours a day. We're also concerned about all of you during this trying times. Please take care of yourself, take care of each other, and remember we're there anytime you need us. You can call or text. Thank you.